The 8th day of November 2023 from a cold and rainy capital of Kenya, that is Nairobi. Thank you very much for choosing your day to begin, your day with us right here on Lookuptv. My name is Simba Kiage. We are live across all our social media platforms. That is at Lookuptv, across all of them. I am at Kiage Simba on X. There's a lot that we're going to talk about this morning, including the ongoing proceedings against one Kawira Mwangaza. Yesterday, she had a first day in the Senate, where the entire Senate essentially listened to the cases being presented by the county assembly, where her lawyers again made a promising rebuttal against all the accusations that have been made against her. Today, it enters the second day, and we shall be live right here at Lookuptv, across all our social media platforms as well, as Kawira Mwangaza awaits her fate at the Senate today. How will that go? Talk to us at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. For now, we take a tiny breather, yes? I'll be coming back with whatever it is that you're waking up to in your dailies this morning. Well, there's just a lot again that has been covered on our dailies this morning. But we do expect that the Kawira Mwangaza story then is going to take center stage this morning, as other stories again also follow. And as I've said, majority of these stories that have also been covered on the dailies this morning are live on our website. That is www.lookuptv.co.ke. Trying to land on the Daily Nation this morning so that we can begin with it, as we see the bigger stories that have been covered on it. And indeed, as we are expecting, like I've said, yes, majority of those stories are essentially going to be on the proceedings that we've seen from the Senate yesterday, in as much as the proceedings for the impeachment process for Kawira Mwangaza is concerned. It looks as if we do not have it this morning. I'm trying to land on it. Yes, we have it. Yes, and this is exactly what the Daily Nation is talking about this morning, and it's on Kenya Kwanza members of parliament plea to RUTO on fuel. Now, we didn't know that this is a story that's been covered on our pages 4 and 5, that some of Kenya Kwanza members of parliament yesterday pleaded with President William RUTO to reintroduce the fuel subsidy program, lamenting their constituents are increasingly becoming hostile to them because of the high pump prices as well as additional taxes. Now, a section of ruling party legislators were also said to have spoken out against the planned deployment of Kenya's police officers on a UN peace mission in Haiti. That story has been covered on pages 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation this morning when you wake up to it. Also now on page 6, is there light at the end of the tunnel for Mwangaza? Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza will today know her fate as senators vote on either to send her home or to return her to office. A particular story covered on page 6 of the Daily Nation. Tough times, forced retirees back to work. That story covered on page 10. That's exactly what it is, and what's wrong for Eric Tenag, Man United. That story covered on page 35. Also, bigger story covered on the Daily Nation this morning is on the CBC system, and it still needs adjustments, say primary school heads as they warn of crisis. That story covered on page 12 of the Daily Nation this morning. Now, remember, majority of these heads are also in Mombasa for deliberations on the educational system in the country. Good. We cross over then to see whether we have the standard this morning, so we can also have a look at it this morning. Yes, this is what they're talking about, gloomy state of the nation. Now, as the president faces a nation drained by high cost of living and a second annual State of the Nation address today, Kenyans expect that even as he highlights achievements of his 14-month-old administration, he will list concrete steps to make their lives better. That's essentially on the cost of living. Read that story on pages 2 and 3 of the Standard. And if we move on to fuel prices, have hit record highs, ushering a cost of living crisis. The highest being bought at 217 shillings. There's a warning from the president and the minister, the CS, Ministry of Treasury and National Planning, on how the Israel-Hamas war can push this to 300 shillings, despite international prices then essentially for the barrel tanking again by 4%. That is as of yesterday. If you look at the international oil indices across the world. Essentially that story, you're going to find it on, again, pages 2 and 3 of the Standard. We do have the case against Kawira Mwangaza to impeach or not. That story covered on page 4. RUTO advice and the tax on our industry on the Business Standard on page 17. There's also a big fight for 684 million shillings Ryan Musk. That story again covered on the Standard. And on the sport segment rather, we do also have how Arteta seeks a fight back again as they face Sevilla tonight on the Champions League. That's exactly what it is that you are waking up to this morning in terms of your dailies. We take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to your newsroom, where we get to see some of the biggest stories again that we are waking up to. All right, welcome back. This is the Morning Drift. Let's take a look at some of the biggest stories that you are waking up to this morning then. Now, as Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza faces a make or break moment at an impeachment trial at the Senate, a section of Meru residents are hopeful that justice will be served as she will be vindicated. Let's take a look at that first story.
Over 59 ward representatives voted to support the motion tabled by Majority Leader Evans Mawira of South Imenti constituency, representing Mitungu ward on a Jubilee Party ticket for the ouster of Kawira Mwangaza on alleged 7 counts, including misuse of office, power and public funds, going against the law, unlawful employment, honoring roads in her husband's name, as well as nepotism sympathizer manifested through the appointment of her sister, brother, husband and brother-in-law to various county offices.
A, the embezzlement of county funds through the governor's sisters, that is Rose Kinya Gwantai and Miriam Gwantai, brother, that is Kenneth Gwantai Murangiri, brother-in-law, that is Nefat Kinywa, and the nephew to the governor's husband, that is Edwin Mutuma Murangiri, all of whom are from now on collectively referred to as the governor's relatives. That 1, an inchoate audit process was underway, and 2, the matters raised by the assembly were sub judice, the latter frivolous ground being also disingenuous and contrived when viewed against the fact that the governor has already been convicted of contempt of court. The Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, how do you plead to the 7 charges? Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Appearing as the second witness for the county, the Mitungu ward representative testified that the governor has so far spent over 78.1 million shillings on irregular payments made to close allies of the governor, with demonstrated conflict of interest on expenditures by mixing up issues such as the gubernatorial official functions and her personal Okolea initiative, which according to the MCAs are marred with misuse of county resources and violence at times.
Instead of accounting for 78 million, she has only accounted for 2.3 million. And if you look at the 2.3 million, the documents that have been used, that is the work ticket as well as the voucher, 99% of them are not signed by the examiner, are not signed by the director of accounts, and therefore they have been prepared hurriedly for purposes of your consumption.
Kwa hivyo kama tumekuja hapa, tuko hapa tayari, tutapambana kiroho.
It can be attributed to the utterances of the governor. Why? Because she castigated the deputy governor and the people there. It's around the deputy governor's home, therefore the ground turned violent after the deputy governor was attacked by the governor.
The county representatives have singled out the ensued indifference between the governor and her deputy, alleging in their submissions on seclusion of county deputy governor from county executive council meetings.
It's not normal, and to hand this was after the deputy governor and come out and saying that he was mistreated, and therefore the governor had taken the rally near his home so that he can castigate him more. Therefore the crowd, that's why they turned violent and protested against the mistreatment of the deputy governor.
As stated in their submissions before the Senate, the MCAs are blaming Kawira of sending unqualified individuals on critical medical cancer treatment tour in China, as well as appointment of unqualified individuals to certain top institutions managed by the Meru County.
Politicians attack each other all the time. Perhaps we can't read much into that. But do you consider it normal, even within the rules of politics, for a governor to take a vilification rally right to the home, adjacent to the home of our deputy?
Upon completion of their submissions, the Speaker will give Kawira an opportunity to salvage herself through her 9 lawyers who have lined up 4 witnesses, including the governor herself, before the Senate votes as a whole house on whether or not to impeach the beleaguered Meru County torch, Kawira Mwangaza.
The standard for removal of a governor in office, taking into account the adjectives used by the drafters of our Constitution, as defined or as interpreted by our Supreme Court, suggests that the process must be rigorous.
Stanley Lugaria, Lookuptv.
Now, as Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza faces a make-or-break moment at her impeachment trial at the Senate, a section of Meru residents are hopeful that justice will be served and she will be vindicated. Let's take a look at that.
Langu kwa Seneti siku ya leo niweze kusikiza pande zote mbili, atisti haki iweze kutendeka na gavana wetu apewe haki. Juu tumeona hapa ni viongozi wako na self interest zao hapa Meru.
Ningeomba Seneti yetu leo, wakati mnaanza kusikiza evidence ile ambayo imeletwa na County Assembly na defense ambayo imeletwa na County Executive, muweke demokrasia ikiwa kipao mbele, kwa sababu mswada vile ninavyouona ni kwamba unahujumu demokrasia, kwa sababu wale political elite na the elite hapa Meru ndio wameungana pamoja wakafanya conspiracy na members of the County Assembly ndio waweze kutoa gavana ambaye alichaguliwa kwa wingi wa kura na wananchi. Kwa hivyo ningetaka Senate muangalie yale mambo yameletwa hapo mbele kwenu na muweze kuchukua hatua ya kumrudisha gavana wa Meru katika kazi yake, aendelee kufanyia wananchi kazi. Matarajio yangu ni kwamba gavana Kawira Mwangaza atapata ushindi katika Seneti na kutoka hapo akuje endelee kufanya kazi.
Right, let's then move on to the next story now. Tourism Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua has said that his ministry, alongside Kenya Revenue Authority KRA, has put in new guidelines aimed at giving dignity and respect to customers and their goods. This follows a public outrage from Kenyans last week over tax harassment by KRA officers at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport.
So these are real guns?
Following an outrage over a directive by KRA to tax personal or household items worth $500, approximately 75,000 Kenyan shillings and above, whether new or used by tourists visiting the country, Tourism Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua and KRA Commissioner Humphrey Mulongo, while speaking today at JKIA, has given new KRA passenger terminal guidelines in which they say will ease in the burden of taxation.
If you're coming in and you have your personal items, would be allowed to get in, but if you have items that are restricted, items that are prohibited or items that attract duty, then you'll be processed accordingly.
If that bag is scanned and there is nothing worrying about it, you have one laptop, you have 1 or 2 phones, umenulia rafiki yako simu, they are not packaged for sale, then it's okay, you go through. But if you are coming, you are carrying 5, 10 phones, you are carrying items that are very clear that need to be taxed, then you'll be told to show the items, and then you do not, then you'll be asked to pay taxes for them.
Responding to the raised concerns of passengers' harassments by KRA officials who have been taking advantage of harassing tourists and giving the country bad publicity, the CS has now promised that his ministry from now henceforth all passengers arriving at JKIA will be accorded good service delivery, that which he says will be done as fast as possible.
That you are going to collect taxes, but as well as you collect taxes, nobody is going to feel that they are being harassed at our airport. Our tourists can come, and we are very clear, nobody will open the bag of a tourist because they are coming as a tourist. It's very clear. Even as a next, you can ask them, what are you coming to do? We see you've got a laptop, some are coming to work from home as they look at the big five. So nobody will be harassed. We want it to be seamless as you come home.
KRA Customs Department at JKIA will continue seizing consignments of restricted items being brought into the country. And according to Mtua, the restricted items will still not be allowed in the country for security purposes. But under the new guidelines, the passengers will now be required to register the items online before traveling into the country.
That in our country, we've got a Kenya Revenue Authority, we've got a Kenya Airports Authority that are able to detect guns before they get into our country, that are able to detect explosives before they get into our country, that are able to detect drugs before they enter into our country. And to tell people that you're not going to get away by bringing prohibited and restricted goods to our country, that our people are awake and our security system is secure. It's double checked when the bags are coming in, and also when the bag before you exit, to ensure that nothing falls through or comes through that should not come through.
Mevin Getembe, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
So is this double checking? So you can take your bag.
Interior and a National Administration Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki met with the high-ranking security officials from the coastal region in Lamu County in a bid to counter the issue of insecurity in the region. As Ian Kiatani now files, Kindiki noted that the government has put measures in place to counter acts of terrorism not only in the coastal region but across the country.
With the government hell-bent to ensure it neutralizes the threat of terrorism as well as counter matters insecurity in the vast coastal region, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki today made his way to Lamu County to hold discussions with high-ranking officials in the security docket in a bid to counter terrorism. With the coast region heavily hit with acts of terrorism, the CS now says the government has issued notices to those suspected of aiding and abetting terrorism in the country, indicating that the government is on high alert and is determined to win the war against terrorism.
Just this morning, we have already given notice to 19 persons and entities whom we believe are aiding and abetting terror, and we believe those persons and entities are engaged in terrorism. And we have applied Section 3 of the Prevention of Terrorism Act of 2012. We are using preventive measures to fight terror, and therefore over and above the list we circulated 1 month ago of the most wanted terror suspects that have been fueling terrorism in this Bonny Enclave.
While admitting the gaps experienced in fighting terrorism, Kindiki hinted at the government deploying more security officers, reiterating that the government is focused on increasing administrative units in the area.
We have, however, identified a few gaps which we need to fill, including more deployment in this area, and we are going to enhance security deployments around Juhudi and Salama areas, which are not very far from here. We are going to increase the number of administrative units so that we can have more locations, sub-locations, divisions, to bring services closer to the people and to help security agencies to be able to make sure that wananchi have somewhere to report crime closer to home and they get services closer to where they live.
With land disputes among the issues bringing about feuds in the region, The CS highlighted the importance of solving such disputes amicably among the residents.
We are going to have some methods of resolving our own disputes when they occur, perhaps sometimes between herders and farmers, and between business interests and whatever other interests. Like any other society, we expect disputes to arise in society, but we do not want violent resolution of disputes.
Noting the importance of engaging all stakeholders in the fight against terrorism, Kindiki assured elders that they will be fully involved in the fight against terrorism, as the fight will only be won through collective efforts.
The role of elders is very critical in terms of creating trust across communities and also trust between the communities and government agencies. Going forward,
Ian Keitani.
East Member of Parliament Nixon Gikoiklong and Woman Representative Cecilia Getit were questioned and released yesterday morning at the Nakuru DCI offices over the increasing insecurity in the Rift Valley region. The leaders have agreed to work with the forces to come up with a lasting solution to the insecurity in the region. Let's take a look.
Insecurity in the north has been a subject of debate for a long time, with Interior CS Kithure Kindiki warning that the government will investigate to get to the bottom of it. As one of the strategies being undertaken by the government, leaders from the north, including Gikolong, together with Turkana County Women Representative Cecilia Ngitit, were on Tuesday morning questioned by the DCI Nakuru, promising to cooperate with the authorities to solve the banditry issue.
I had my colleague, who is a friend of mine, Honorable Kamuket, who was there the other day last week, talking about the issue of Kapedo, which is my concerns. He talked about the court making the ruling on Kapedo issue to be in Baringo. I don't know which court in this republic will go against the constitution of this country to say this is the boundary.
Gikolong welcomed Pokot residents to live in Kapedo and anywhere else in Turkana County, while calling on to the residents of Turkana to continue being peaceful as before.
There are some leaders who are claiming that some land, like now Kapedo, some people they are saying they have been here for 100 years. Let's not bring this country into chaos by giving such a statement.
Turkana County Women Representative Cecilia Ngitit say that the disputes that are occurring in some areas of Turkana East and South are not cattle theft issues but land disputes.
You know, the situation in the North Rift is volatile now. Even as we speak, war is going on in Turkana East and Turkana South in some parts. It is no longer cattle rustling as usual. It is now including land.
She also called on to Internal Security Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki to end this issue forever, because the lack of security has made the North Rift unstable, while forcing students who are doing their national exams to do them outside their homes for fear of banditry attacks.
And there is no community that is superior than the other. All of us are Kenyans. All of us are Kenyans. And the Constitution is the superior law of this land. We want to plead with our government. We want to plead with CS Kindiki. Please, 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 CS Kindiki, do it, give it the last shot, give it the best shot. We are tired of losing people.
Ebikadenyi, Lookuptv.
Well, there's a lot that we're going to talk about this morning. Remember, the president has said, my hands are tied when it comes to the cost of fuel in the country. If you go back and replay his messages during the campaigns, was one man who said, well, I've got a solution for it. Cut down on the taxes, you're there. In fact, in his presidential debate, it seemed to have an answer. He did say, taxes make up more than half of the price of the product in the country. So cut it. You're already there. And in fact, he said that was the magic bullet to cutting down the cost of living in the country. Well, the same man this morning is telling you, my hands are tied. I do not know. Remember, next week, a time like this, you shall already have known the price point per litre of fuel in the country from EPRA. What is it going to be? Churchill is saying that we might be looking at 300 shillings. Is that what we're going to see next week? Remember, at a time like this also, Tanzania, by the way, is cut down on the price of a litre of fuel. going by the declining international prices. If you wake up from yesterday morning to today, you'll be told that the International Spectre Index, essentially that looks at the fuel prices across the world, has dropped by 4%. Fuel prices are plunging. But in the country, it's a completely different story. That State of the Nation address from the President is going to come today. Be ready for that. We shall be live for it right here at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. But just before that, let's talk about it then, what we expect the President to say. And also on the sidelines of that, Kabira Mwangaza, is she going home or is she staying right here on the Morning Draft?
Once again, tuko hapa Angel Center for Abandoned Kids, all because of you.
My name is Catherine Wanjiru. I am the admin, Angel Center for Abandoned Children. Our founder is Wamaitha Mwangi. We currently have 64 children, 32 going to school, and among those 32, 2 are special children, and we are left at the home with 32. Now the toddlers and the infants. To the RUTO Foundation, thank you so much for remembering us. Guy, we lack words. We lack words. Amazing. We don't know what to say. Thank you for remembering us. You made a promise and you have delivered. And may God bless you. To my fellow Kenyans, as usual, cheza loto, sio ndoto. Angel Center tumeshinda loto.
Every time you play lotto, 25% goes to the RUTO Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Introducing the Kenya Trade Fair Fusion Sales Drive event in the heart of Nairobi at the Kenya National Archives. It's not just an event, it's sales generation with a remarkable return on investment. Get ready to let your booth do the talking as you study new market trends with lots of entertainment featuring traditional live bands, DJs and artists. For vendor registration, call 0724 715 334 or 0713 907 584 or 0723 861 173.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lelima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lelima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today. Or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
The story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business.
We have partnered with the Youth Fund, talk to as many youth as possible and work with them, hold their hand.
It is an expose of captains who have decided to take on challenges in different sectors and industries within the country.
My mentors had also not started as CEOs. They grew up and they showed me how they grew in the organizations. So that's what motivated me to actually do international business. And it was a good experience.
As an individual, support in bridging the care gap, part of me also to offer a solution. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it.
This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Kiage. At Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. My name is Simba Kiage. This is the Morning Drift. Welcome back. There's just a lot that we're going to look at in as the political economy in the country is concerned. Now, today there are a couple of things to look forward to. Number one, if you are a resident of Meru County, today is the day you're going to know whether you would have a governor in the name of Kawira Mwangaza or the deputy is going to take over. So big news that's going to come from the Senate today, and we shall be live once that particular station goes online, and it shall be live across our social media platforms. That is a Lookuptv across all of them. Two, your president is speaking to you today. The second State of the Nation address is going to talk about, in other things, the cost of living, and in the way that it is essentially tackled this year. By the way, it's going to be his first full day in office if he completes this year. So we're going to sit back and also go live with that particular one. So there's just a lot that we're going to talk about. All that we got to do today is just preempt exactly what we're going to see from those two events that are coming, because it's not only us who are speaking, even members of parliament within the president's government are saying, hey, we are feeling the heat. You got to do something about it. Is that why there have been a lot of mamas in all the gatherings that the president has been to? We talk about that this morning on a deeper level as well. It's a good thing we do have Kamau in the house. How are you doing, sir?
Not bad.
Happy to have you around.
Good to have you back.
Yeah, it was a good break. It was a good break.
You needed that break, my brother.
Needed it, man. Yeah. From all the way from January, you know, back to back to back.
Even your face is glowing, but you look relaxed, yeah?
That's it.
You needed that.
That's it.
They say rest is as important as work.
As important as it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Guess what? I want us to jump into the first story this morning. That's going to be our entry into a conversation. It is on the Kawira Mwangaza's fate. This is how it went down yesterday. Let's take a look.
Over 59 ward representatives voted to support the motion tabled by Majority Leader Evans Mawira of South Imenti constituency, representing Mitungu ward on a Jubilee Party ticket for the ouster of Kawira Mwangaza on alleged 7 counts, including misuse of office, power and public funds, going against the law, unlawful employment, honoring roads in her husband's name, as well as nepotism sympathizer manifested through the appointment of her sister, brother, husband and brother-in-law to various county offices.
A, the embezzlement of county funds through the governor's sisters, that is Rose Kinya Gwantai and Miriam Gwantai, brother, that is Kenneth Gwantai Murangiri, brother-in-law, that is Nefat Kinywa, and the nephew to the governor's husband, that is Edwin Mutuma Murangiri, all of whom are from now on collectively referred to as the governor's relatives. That 1, an inchoate audit process was underway, and 2, the matters raised by the assembly were sub judice, the latter frivolous ground being also disingenuous and contrived when viewed against the fact that the governor has already been convicted of contempt of court. The Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, how do you plead to the 7 charges? Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Appearing as the second witness for the county, the Mitungu ward representative testified that the governor has so far spent over 78.1 million shillings on irregular payments made to close allies of the governor, with demonstrated conflict of interest on expenditures by mixing up issues such as the gubernatorial official functions and her personal Okolea initiative, which according to the MCAs are marred with misuse of county resources and violence at times.
Instead of accounting for 78 million, she has only accounted for 2.3 million. And if you look at the 2.3 million, the documents that have been used, that is the work ticket as well as the voucher, 99% of them are not signed by the examiner, are not signed by the director of accounts, and therefore they have been prepared hurriedly for purposes of your consumption.
It can be attributed to the utterances of the governor. Why? Because she castigated the deputy governor and the people there. It's around the deputy governor's home, therefore the crowd turned violent after the deputy governor was attacked by the governor.
The county representatives have singled out the ensued indifference between the governor and her deputy, alleging in their submissions on seclusion of county deputy governor from county executive council meetings.
It's not normal, and to hand, this was after the deputy governor and come out and saying that he was mistreated, and therefore the governor had taken the rally near his home so that he can castigate him more. Therefore the crowd, that's why they turned violent and protested against the mistreatment of the deputy governor.
As stated in their submissions before the Senate, the MCAs are blaming Kawira of sending unqualified individuals on critical medical cancer treatment tour in China, as well as appointment of unqualified individuals to certain top institutions managed by the Meru County.
Politicians attack each other all the time. Perhaps we can't read much into that. But do you consider it normal, even within the rules of politics, for a governor to take a vilification rally right to the home, adjacent to the home of our deputy?
Upon completion of their submissions, the Speaker will give Kawira an opportunity to salvage herself through her 9 lawyers who have lined up 4 witnesses, including the governor herself, before the Senate votes as a whole house on whether or not to impeach the beleaguered Meru County Torch, Kawira Mwangaza.
The standard for removal of a governor in office, taking into account the adjectives used by the drafters of our Constitution, as defined or as interpreted by our Supreme Court, suggests that the process must be rigorous.
Stanley Lugaria, Lookuptv.
Well, welcome back. That's how it is then. Today, the bench of lawyers, hopefully that's the collective noun for it, bench of lawyers, is essentially going to listen to that case. And she has 9 of them. They're essentially going to defend all the accusations that have been thrown against Kawira Mwangaza. A couple of issues to look into this particular case. Come on. Yes. Let me start like this. Yesterday we hinted into how the conversations were going to be and why essentially Kawira Mwangaza is facing this fire for the second time as well. And it's peculiar in the sense that she's barely 2 years in the office and she's facing her second impeachment bid. Let me begin like this. Do you read any malice, or is that a talking point that this time around she's not facing a committee, a select committee is going to listen to her case, before they come back to the Senate to table their findings? She's essentially facing the entire House, which makes a case stronger. Is it when you face a select committee, or is when you face the entire House in that plenary session?
I think when she's facing the entire House, just to be hopeful, there can be some sort of miracle.
Yes.
That there are some senators there who cannot be compromised, because you may not be able to buy all the senators to rule in a certain favor, because clearly, Simba, this is a political witch hunt. You can't tell me that Governor Kawera, in less than 1 year in office, or let's say less than 2 years in office, is being impeached without anything substantial to show for it. The problem Kawera is facing today is that she lacks a political godfather. She's in a position that she's not supposed to be without a political godfather. Her fate rests entirely on God's hands. She's an independent governor, okay. No, she did not have the UDA support, that's Kenya Kwanza. She did not have Azimio support. If you look at the voting pattern of Meru, you look at the MCAs in the House, you look at the Azimio MCAs, you look at Kenya Kwanza MCAs, that tells you she's a self-made politician who has a lot of power in Mount Kenya, but she lacks a political godfather. Yes. And so we hope that the God who put her there, you know, it's so unfortunate that we are hoping for a miracle where justice is supposed to prevail. If we can be genuine and honest with ourselves, we can realize there was nothing substantial, there is nothing worth her impeachment. I listened to someone there saying that they were paid without doing any job. What is the work of that person? I think he's a board member or something, or a CEO
of the Drugs Council, yes.
How is that governor related? I paid you to work.
But you didn't do work.
You didn't do work.
But you paid me either way.
You don't have an office at the county assembly. Yes. So we are hoping that you would work once you are paid. And that tells you the kind of mediocrity and corruption we have in this country. You pay someone to go work, they don't work, and that tells you the alcoholism levels in this country, that someone is sleeping on their job. Especially in Mount Kenya, we have a crisis of alcoholism. That tells you he is the core reason why alcoholism in Mount Kenya, and especially Meru, is on the rise, because you pay him to control, he doesn't do his work.
Is it not proof that if you employ me, come on,
yes,
and you give me a specific job to do, and then I come and tell you, you know, I've not worked, come out, I've not worked, but you still continue to pay me.
Yes.
Is it not a good case against the governor?
No, you see, that is someone who is exposing himself. We can ask you, then, are you not the reason why all these drug-related issues are on the rise in Meru? Yes. He was setting himself up actually for failure, thinking that he's setting up the governor. Having said that, Simba, we can say that let's hope that she is in God's hands, that God will touch the hearts of those senators. Because I know there is some powerful hand behind her impeachment, because it's clearly a political witch hunt. Yes. That these guys can be bribed and still vote, you know, with a conscience-driven judgment. Yeah, that's the sad state of our country.
Want to look at another particular instance now that we have to look at this particular case in respect to her defense that's going to start today. Yeah. If you look at another accusation that has been given there, is that she has appointed unqualified personnel to certain critical positions in the county government. I do not think come out that this accusation will come on the table of the House without this MCS having critical evidence to showcase that. I think this is one that they are going to present evidence upon. Yeah. If indeed they're unqualified personnel within the county government of Meru, is that not enough then for us to say, well, maybe now that she gotta say why they're there?
Why should we hang Kawera for what happens in this country? If you look at the state of our nation today, okay, the economic aspect of it, do we have qualified policymakers in this country? We don't have qualified policymakers, hence the detriment of our economy today. So someone accusing Kawera of having appointed people who are not qualified, how do you say these are qualified? You know, at least she has a chance to speak and say the reason she did that. The good thing is that this is happening on TV. We can all hear about that. Again, she is not the only person who is doing that. I'm telling you, I know this for a fact. I have friends who are in positions of power, very
Yes.
many friends. I'm telling you the kind of things they do, the kind of appointments they make. I'm telling you, Simba, the only problem with Kawira's today is that she does not have a political godfather in a very powerful position. Otherwise, everything can be alleged against her. You did this. Someone can even say she is sleeping with her husband in the same bed. That's a reason to push her out. Her only crime is that she does not have a political godfather.
The deputy governor has been represented in these accusations that the MCAs are bringing on board. And it's a similar thing that we did see in Siaya County, where the governor and the deputy governor were essentially not in line with how the county government was working. Now the MCAs are saying is essentially removed the deputy governor from the county council. They can't just come and say that if they've got no evidence against that. Come out. If the deputy governor indeed can prove that it was removed from that council, that's heavy as it looks, isn't it?
You know, the good thing about law is that anyone who alleges has to prove.
Does it?
He has a chance to prove that whatever they have accused the governor of is true. You know, Simba, we need to amend the impeachment laws. We need to amend it to the point that we are not, if we were to impeach a governor, we are not impeaching a governor alone. They have to go home as a unit. And if possible, even the MCAs. Simba, if you have an overly ambitious deputy governor, they will accuse you of anything. Why? If you ask yourself, what is the role of a deputy governor? It's just like that role of a deputy president. A principal assistant to the governor. Whatever they do lies entirely on the hands of the governor or their bosses. There is no constitutional reference to the actual work of a deputy governor. It's just a principal assistant to the governor. And that is why in case a governor is impeached, the deputy governor. So the only time a deputy governor has a hope of working for the people is when the governor is impeached. And that is why it is quite important we look into these things holistically on matters job description for everybody. Because again, if you have, like I've said, if you have an overly ambitious deputy governor, you can go home because they will find all manner of reasons to impeach you. And if they work closely with the MCAs, and you know, me and you are not visitors in this country. We did not land here yesterday. We know how the MCAs twist governors to be to be given some kickbacks. You know, these things are happening in our country. The other day I was at a TV interview, I won't mention the name. I was with an MCA as my co-panelist.
Yes.
For every 2 minutes he spoke, he could refer to his governor, how he has praised the governor, how he was talking good things about the governor. After the show, I asked him, tell me the state of your ward. And he tells me because of my good relationship with my governor, things are happening in my ward.
Yes.
Now, that again tells you, if you look at the work of an MCA, again, in terms of who do we qualify to vote as an MCA, what is the work of an MCA? It's basically like the work of an MP at the county level. That is oversight, legislation, and representing the people. Now, unfortunately, we elect people at the county assembly not based on merit or their understanding of what they need to do. Because all they understand is they need some working capital to move the ward forward. But if you look at the work of an MCA, they have a very important role of legislation, bills, policy making at the county level. If you go to Meru, ask the Meru MCAs, what policies have they passed to make sure that the people down there are benefiting from the county, at the county level? I doubt there is anything substantial. And that is why these people believe they just have to have money at their disposal. And those are the problems you see across the country. Everyone is looking to have some share of money because we believe in moving things forward. We have to have money. But policies are very important in moving a people forward because it determines the kind of laws, bylaws that binds a governor. But they don't do that. You can see the mischief of the Meru MCAs. Because if we clearly analyze what is happening in Meru, again, there is nothing worth sending their governor home. Entirely nothing.
Does it come out? Just before I cross over to Silas, but Silas, how are you doing, sir? Karibu sana. Just before I cross over to him, I told you this particular case is special in this sense. It is the second time. Now, let me give you a pattern again that we've seen in the way the MCAs essentially voted to impeach the Meru governor. All of them. Silas, all of them.
Yes.
Essentially said, we do not want her. So for the Senate that is looking at the performance of a governor, and by the way, it's special again in the sense that Infotrack went in and started asking the Meru people about how they think the governor is performing. When they looked at the metrics of rating Kawira Mwangaza, they put her in the top 10 in the country, most performing governors. Which made me ask the question, can a governor perform solely? Because we like to think that the people who help you perform are the MCAs who help you oversight, pass these policies, you know, guard your laws within the different wards so that your county can perform. For the Senate that is looking at Kawira Mwangaza right now, they see her as a lone woman, someone who's fallen out with the county government. Is that not enough to say, we do not understand why you have failed to create a working relationship with your county government? What is going on? Which therefore begs the question, if Kawira Mwangaza cannot build a working relationship with her MCAs, is there a reason for the county government to continue trusting her?
I get. Simba, Governor Kawira must have been so focused and lost into development that she forgot to play politics.
Development happens through the county government, come out.
She's one of the most rated performing governor in Kenya and in Mount Kenya, among the best.
You know what somebody said in that particular statement that you've said? She's doing her own things then. If the MCAs are not in line with what you're doing and they're saying, no, we don't want that, then you're just building your own development agenda. Don't you need your county government to develop better so the people can get what they want?
I think what she did, she becomes so development oriented such that she forgot to play politics. By what sense? Involving the county assembly.
Is that not what makes a better governor? That even the politics within your county have to be better for development?
Simba, let's say, if Kawira Mwangaza, governor of Meru, did not involve the MCAs at a political level when she was doing the developments, then it means if she had involved the members of county assembly, then Meru would be heaven. If she worked with the MCAs at a political level, then we are talking of Meru being a heaven. Everything, all system working, nothing missing, everything performing as it should be.
Silas, I want to cross to you. Maybe the question that I want you to keep on thinking about, Kamau, is it very hard now for us to envision a governor who goes into office as independent, because we do know how strong the voting patterns for national politics and even all the way to presidency, they're essentially just in tune with what goes on in the voting patterns in the county government. It's that what we are not figuring out as a country. Silas, again, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Fantastic. So here's a question then. And we're looking at some of the accusations that have been thrown against Kawira Mwangaza. We're looking at two scenarios, that indeed these accusations are legitimate, or number two, somebody somewhere, the MCAs, in this case, as majority of the senators or those who are supporting Kawira Mwangaza, are saying, essentially mischievous, they want her out. Now, this case is special in this sense, that if somebody somewhere was learning why the first impeachment failed, they have a reference book. Silas, look at the notes from the first impeachment bid that didn't go through, correct everything in that book, get her out of office. You would like to think that this time they came prepared. Look at what they're accusing her of: nepotism, misuse of county funds. They've even gone in and said that she's broken law, to the point where they're tabling that particular evidence at the Senate. I mean, as an advocate, I mean, you look at these things, I mean, you look at books. If you are indeed going to take that second impeachment bid to the Senate, would you use the first reading that was last year as your marking point, taking her out? And if that is the case, is Kawira Mwangaza going to stand the test of waters this time around?
No, Simba, you know that we have common law doctrines of judicial precedence.
Yes.
And sometimes the Senate is considered a court of its own, sometimes, because we see hearings going on there and determinations and rulings taking place there, led by the Speaker of the Senate. I would say so that it were wise, or it would have been wise, that this county that is so much plagued with impeachment threats and impeachment motions, Kawira Mwangaza not being the first. We had the Governor Martin Wambora, and Kawira, this is the second stab in the impeachment. So it would be wise that the very same members of County Assembly making a second bid at impeaching the governor when they failed the first time, to have a look at the precedent set, the decisions, the reasoning of the Senate, and even there are some that even went to the mainstream court, the Wambora case. It even went to the High Court. They would want to look at the decision, the reasoning of the judicial officers concerning those impeachments. And then if they want to catch, they are in fault-finding mission, to catch a governor and to successfully impeach a governor, then they have the marking scheme. No county has a marking scheme like
Beru. That's it. They do have it, isn't it? It's everything.
When you look at the reasons they bring up, Simba.
Yes.
At one of the reasons is that governor was dancing to the tune when you move Wajinyonge. Is that a reason? Is that a reason to impeach somebody?
Is it?
I mean, if I just decide to katika here when you move Wajinyonge on your show.
Silas, also. But are you not going to give us the motive? Because I know you argue like that in collect. What is the motive of this song?
Of course.
Where does it come from?
What are they trying to achieve? Simba, what are they trying to achieve?
If I saw my governor dance to a song of when you even I would ask who is
Utajinyonga. Anasema tujinyonge.
Anasema tujinyonge.
Simba, I begin to dance to a tune here when you were Jinyonge. And then I see Simba just tying a note here and going.
Because the governor said
so. But then you see Simba, that begs the question. What is the motive?
That's it. It's the motive, isn't it?
What is the mischief they're trying to cure here?
Yes.
Are they on somebody's payroll? But again, being that I was denied the party certificate, for instance, not even denied, I never managed to get the party certificate.
Yes.
Then I proceed to trash all the parties available independently. I try to give the county government a listening ear and trying to galvanize a county to see if we can work together. But I hear the rhetorics of my party leader has instructed, my party leader has said. Yet, I shouldn't subscribe to any party. And they want to force the party agenda, which probably I don't subscribe to.
Yes.
As long as the purpose, scope, and responsibility of a county is undertaken. That is why Infotrack was successful in getting the people to rate their governor, not the county assembly to rate their governor, the people. I mean, who should be happy with the government? Isn't it not the people? But if Simba and I are pleased with President William Ruto, what will be of the elected members who are not happy with him?
Yes.
The much they can do is impeach him, we re-elect him. Sovereignty belongs to the people. They impeach him, we re-elect. Because if a governor here has been ranked among the top 10, of which Simba, I'm not taking this thing absolutely.
Yes.
Because this is Kenya.
That's it.
Eh?
That's it.
The governor herself can go behind and have info tracking in the pocket.
That's it.
I mean,
the question you should have
You need to have faith in your systems and organizations, Bana.
I'm not taking it absolute.
Yeah.
It is relative.
Of course, Kamau, of course, we would like to think that Infotrack, when they were doing this poll, they said, well, governors, be very aware that we'll be passing around your counties to ask your county members how your performance is. We're going to rate the top 10 governors in the country and the worst performing.
Yes.
Of course, the governors would have said, okay, let me know, I can help, Bana. To make your work easy. When you're passing around the
care of you. My big hotel here.
I want to believe that is an offer every other governor would have given. That is an offer that every other governor. We need to have faith. We need to have faith in our organizations, Bana.
Not at the expense of favorable.
You know, Simba, it's so unfortunate.
Unless we audit the Infotrack accounts and know that, well, some of this money came from, of course, they never do these surveys without essentially having somebody who sponsors the surveys.
Yeah.
They gotta be paid for it.
You know, I'm a research student, and there are parameters of doing a research. And it was very important for me to know the actual findings, not necessarily for perception out there, but for me as a person. And I want to believe they spoke to all the 47 governors and said, hey, we are here, we are doing a research on your performance. And so if there could have any diversion of what the people said, it must not be very far from the truth. Even if there was any diversion, ilikuwa kidogo sana if money was poured.
but you see,
but as a research student as well, Kamau, you also have two. In your preamble for your research, you have to reveal if indeed you are sponsored to do this survey. You have to say, so and so sponsored this survey that I did. That at one point, even within the survey, so and so enabled us to do this. You gotta reveal that, isn't it? For ethical purposes. Infotrack haven't done that.
But Simba, you see, it's 100%. They have their ways of making money. Okay, and one of their ways of making money is through advertisements.
That's it.
Okay, they look for partners to do advertisements with. And so I want to believe, by the way, Simba, if there could be any mischief, it cannot be very far from the truth. Again, the credibility of your farm's name is at risk. You know, we are living in a country whereby we have to now raise who is more credible than the other because of the level of corruption that is, you know, the mindset we have about organizations, about findings, about everything. You know, someone believes I pay to come here to have a show because they believe they cannot be called on merit. That is the kind of mentality we are dealing with out there. And so we are living in times where credibility, you know, is under siege. So we need to have credible farms. And if Infotrack can be one of those credible farm of our times, whatever they will put there, it is the sheer gospel. And if they can be able to capitalize on that, then I want to believe money for them will not be an issue. Because everyone would want to pay for their research.
I also...
The Council of Governors can pay for that research.
Yeah. Is it okay for us then, Silas, to say, well, and I like the way you're saying, and I want to put this question to you as well, that in rating a best performing governor, if essentially you're going to rate them, like Infotrack rated Kawira Mwangaza, then you would like to think that the biggest punch in a sack would have been that you're really good, you're really better performing, but then when it comes to running county affairs, county political affairs, you count in your office, things are burning. So for that reason, Madam Kawira Mwangaza, we do not think that you can actually go up to the top 10. We have other governors who are well deserving of that position because we're saying, well, they're balancing their act in this county government. Is that okay for us to say so?
That is why, Simba, was saying, remember when I made my disclaimer?
Yes.
That I am not taking the fact that she appears in top 10 absolutely.
Yes.
Meaning, I buy and appreciate that she's best performing. But then I'm not taking it absolutely because we are in this country, we are not foreigners. We are not sojourners. We are not guests to Kenya. We know of the Azimio billboards, which went underwater. We're being told they are winning by 56.2%.
You remember that, yeah?
And Infotrack was at the top.
Also, so you could. There are also research firms that say these guys are neck to neck. They're also there. But you have a point. You have a point.
You see, Simba. So it could be, please save my burning situation. At least they can campaign for me. Against this impeachment that is looming. And you see, if there is a desperate situation for the Meru governor, it is this impeachment season. It's a desperate situation. You want to do anything and everything available to make sure you defend your seat. Because we are talking about a constitutional question. Constitutionality of the governorship having been questioned by the members of the county assembly. You know, the constitution is immutable until and unless the amendment's done. It stands. It is the skeleton law from which other pieces of legislation originate.
Yes.
It is the guiding principle for a country's law. We cannot come up with an act of parliament that is unconstitutional. That is why whenever an act of parliament has been enacted, it has to be passed through the measures, the beam balance of constitutionality. If it is found to be unconstitutional, even if the dictates of the act of parliament are actually the ones that are speaking to the current situation of the society.
Yes.
For as long as there is that retrogressive statement or law within the constitution, this good act of parliament will remain unconstitutional. So we are talking about the constitutionality of the governor of Meru County, of her office. It has been put into question. So if we want to find the most desperate situation, most desperate period in the lifetime of Meru governor, Kawira Mwangaza, then it is now that her case is within the city. So she wants to go the miles to make sure that she portrays herself, to make sure that she woos and wins the hearts of the senators who are going to make decisions concerning her case favorably. And so that is why I'm saying this is Kenya.
You know, Simba, come on. Even when you respond to that, because I just want us to clear this issue of Kawira Mwangaza and talk about the impending State of the Nation address by the president. Maybe now we should start asking ourselves this question, because we do know exactly how her county voted in national politics. It was a predominantly UDA region. Fine, that is not a question. And if you look at the rest of the governors in the country, all of them have got their party affiliates. And if you look at the patterns then, nationally and in the counties, all of them corresponded. Other than one county where you have an independent governor. And in that county, majority of those who have voted in that county belong to a certain party. But then you have one lone woman who is independent. Maybe the question I want to ask you is this. Is this position of a gubernatorial position too strong for it to be run by an independent? Because in one way or another, you have to belong to a bloc which has voted in one way. So majority of the people, they're going to find that your MCAs, your members of parliament, majority of them are going to be to one party.
Yes. Simba, in our politics, if you have to survive in our politics, you have to kiss a ring.
Does it?
So whose ring is Governor Kawira Mwangaza kissing? She has no ring, she's kissing. It is politically wrong for an independent governor, and in this case, a woman who dominates politics in a male chauvinized region. Because if you go to Meru, by the way, it's another story there, by the way. You know I'm from Mount Kenya and I know how we think and how we operate. So, having this woman emerge at the top without kissing any ring.
Leading men.
And beating men. By the way, do you know someone? By the way, I have a lot of interest with Meru politics. I speak every day to some of I have so many friends in Meru, and so I want to understand what is happening in Meru. And by the way, do you know the people who voted for Mwangaza in the Infotrack findings, they went the other day on the street mentioning names of political figureheads there and said, leave our governor alone. There was a very big demonstration. That tells you the people are satisfied, the people are happy. These are the people who voted. So when someone is seated up there and thinks that they can divert the will of the people of Meru, then that's someone who thinks they can be a small god in Meru. And the will of the people must always be respected because it reigns supreme in any election. So it is quite important today to protect Governor Kawira Mwangaza. I am happy that the women leaders have come out in support of her. They are saying, first of all, she is going through this hell because she's a woman and an independent woman. Meru is a center stage of politics, by the way, because it is in Mount Kenya. And I keep saying there were three kingmakers in this country. One was called William RUTO, who became the president, so he's no longer a kingmaker. The other one is called Mount Kenya. The other one is called Raila Amolo Odinga. And so when Mount Kenya doesn't seem to speak in one voice, and there is a governor up there who controls more than 300,000 votes, and she does not take any sides, she must toe the line as early as now. She has refused completely to play politics. She has refused, and I think that is her biggest weakness, by the way. Politics of, association. Because her politics at the ground level are quite okay. She seems to win the souls and the hearts of the people of Meru. But at the national level and even at the county level with the political demigods, she has refused to take sides. And that is why she's been persecuted. And it is such a sad state today, Simba, that we are believing that justice will prevail where it's supposed to prevail. I am convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that there is no substantial evidence against that woman to send her home. It is only that she's suffering political witch hunt by some male figures there who do not believe that Governor Kawira Mwangaza can be governor and a woman governor in this case. I'm not saying she's suffering because of that, but that is one of the reasons she is being prosecuted. Because again, I've told you, she lacks a political godfather. If she had a political godfather like Raila or William RUTO, trust me, she would be very safe. If you look at the voting patterns, then you can be able to pick answers that are not necessarily in the light. The voting, where is this impeachment coming from? What are azimio governor MCAs saying in Meru? What are UDA MCAs saying in Meru?
You cannot convince me that in less than 2 years, she has faced 2 impeachments because she has done so much evil. And if those are the things that she has been, that have been brought against her, then I tell you, this is nonsense. We are wasting our time. And it's such a sad state that we have to pray and hope that justice will prevail where it is supposed to prevail.
I like his argument. But let me take you back again and come out.
Yeah.
Indulge me on this as well. First time Kabira Mwangaza faced the impeachment, and I want to remind you, she actually went and spoke to the MCAs and begged for forgiveness. You remember that?
Oh my! Yeah.
She begged for forgiveness from the MCAs. Silas, please indulge us as well. At one point, I know you've gone into out-of-court settlements where you're talking to your clients and telling, hey, Bwana, he doesn't have to get there. You go there and ask them for forgiveness, and then your story is shared. Who's this person you're telling to go ask for forgiveness?
You know, Simba?
Yes.
Let me react there.
Yes.
The matter of forgiveness is quite funny.
Yes.
In this sense.
Yes.
We can have a very vicious court battle with you, and then I trounce you in that court battle.
Yeah.
And then you are satisfied with the judgment. But for that innate peace to prevail, we have to galvanize. I mean, let us accept and move on. There is that forgiveness for accept and move on.
That's it.
Not the forgiveness that, no, let's put this down. We come out of court. We are mature, let's work.
Yes.
But then there is that decision has been given. The Senate has found no reason to impeach me.
That's it.
I have been reinstated. The county see no reason of going to court. But either way, there is chaos within the county. What is the demand of the county? An apology. It's easier. It doesn't mean that by apologizing,
Silas, you will only apologize again. Like the only reason I will accept for you to tell me, Silas, if I was your client, and then somebody is saying, well, I'm taking you to court. Good, we go to court, the entire process is done, isn't it? And then the court vilifies me. Silas, that's what happened, isn't it? The first time they tried to impeach her, she came out free.
Free, yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Good.
She apologized.
And then I come back to you and apologize to you. Why am I apologizing, Silas, if I've not done anything wrong to you?
Societal implications. I want you to look at the Kenyan government in the eye of the society.
That's it.
Because our laws are mostly foreign laws. We are actually governed by the common law rules. The constitution, you are being told that we borrowed largely from South Africa. We look at the criminal justice system, came from England. Several of our acts of parliament are borrowed from England.
Yes.
In fact, there was the Indian Societies Act of, is it 1860?
Does it?
That was chopped, and then we have the Societies Act of Kenya. So, look at this in the Kenyan society aspect. Msewe omba msamaha twende. You've never been told that in the streets?
Yeah, it's happened.
Pole bana. I mean, tulia. Omba msamaha twende.
That's it.
To at least galvanize the society, to galvanize the situation, to bring people together, to get out of the animosity from the loss. Why was the handshake? I'm just trying to give you, bringing you back to the bigger politics now. What did Uhuru tell us concerning his main motive for handshake? That he chose peace as opposed to chaos. So he went for his political nemesis and shook hands, and then it doesn't mean that
the court did not vindicate Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta in the second round of the elections. There was a second round. They still went to the Supreme Court. That is 2017 A and B. And Justice Maraga said the elections were okay. But for peace, he looked for Raila. And we saw that quietness. So the forgiveness that we are talking about, that's why I told you, forgiveness is in two ways. There is one, I see Simba, I have wronged you, seriously. And the way I see you in the Senate, my head is going to be chopped. Please, Simba, let's sit on the table. Tell me what you want. Then I will be able to adhere to that. Yes. Simba tells me, okay, number one, do ABCD. Number two, apologize. Then I make the apology. You see, that is in essence of the fact that my head is going to be chopped. Then there is the post-vindication forgiveness that you ask for to cool and quell their anxieties and egoism. I mean, somebody said, say yes to please a fool. Yes. I mean, you just say, forgive me, to Simba, please a fool.
Simba, let me throw some weight on what my good lawyer here has said. Yes. There is a principle of war where interests are concerned. Yes. You cause crisis where there are none to offer a solution that takes care of your interests. Yes. He's given a very good solution. Or rather, a very good example. He said, Raila caused chaos where there were none. Okay? Yes. William Ruto, Uhuru was given a clean bill of his election. But Raila went ahead and created crisis, and he was brought in government. Not that Uhuru was stupid enough, because he needed to play the bigger brother, because he has seen how this man operates. You create crises where there are none, and then you come in with solutions that take care of your interest. Could it be the same thing that is happening in Meru? Create crises where there are none, so that our interests as political demigods of Meru and the MCAs can be taken care of. Someone told me what Kawira has done in Meru is that she has cut so many taps for many people that they are no longer eating. They're saying if she allows them to eat, then all these crises will be done away with. Done and dusted. Now that is what this woman is facing. Yes. She's standing in between the recesses of Meru and the people who want to eat them. Yeah. And I'm telling you this from a truthful point, from the horse's mouth. Yeah.
Pretty much. Guess what? Just before we go on a break, I want us to look at exactly what Meru residents then think about the impeachment process for their governor, Kawira Mwangaza. We won't speak after that. After you look at exactly what the residents are saying, we're going to take a tiny breather right here on the Morning Drift. Once we come back, we shall be jumping straight into the impending State of the Nation address by President William Samoei Ruto. Why is it special that every time he's been speaking nowadays, you've been making noise? So you're going to be making noise when he'll be addressing you once we come back.
Langu kwa seneti siku ya leo niweze kusikiza pande zote mbili, atisti haki iweze kutendeka na gavana wetu apewe haki. Juu tumeona hapa ni viongozi wako na self interest zao hapa Meru.
Ningeomba seneti yetu leo, wakati mnaanza kusikiza evidence ile ambayo imeletwa na county assembly na defense ambayo imeletwa na county executive, muweke demokrasia ikiwa kipao mbele, kwa sababu mswada vile ninavyoona ni kwamba unahujumu demokrasia, kwa sababu wale political elite na the elite hapa Meru ndio wameungana pamoja wakafanya conspiracy na members of the county assembly ndio waweze kutoa gavana ambaye alichaguliwa kwa wingi wa kura na wananchi. Kwa hivyo ningetaka Senate muangalie yale mambo yameletwa hapo mbele kwenu na muweze kuchukua hatua ya kumrudisha gavana wa Meru katika kazi yake, aendelee kufanyia wananchi kazi. Matarajio yangu ni kwamba Gavana Kawira Mwangaza atapata ushindi katika seneti na kutoka hapo akuje endelee kufanya kazi.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your number one show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Let's go. Let's go.
The winner of the 32nd edition, representing also the EMC, Weldon Langat.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the Lotto Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Welcome back. For those who want to speak to us, of course you should, at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. The hashtag is The Morning Drift. Now, let's move away from the politics of Kawira Mwangaza. And by the way, we shall be live for that as well, right here at Lookuptv, when those proceedings begin, up to when they essentially take a vote, either to impeach her or to retain her in office. Now, then there's another man who you have not been liking every time he speaks to you. Quote, and this is a direct quote. Now, the president thinks that when you promise something, it doesn't come immediately, just like God. When you pray to God and you ask God to give you something. For those people who go to church, there are three answers. You say that yes, no, or wait. So the president is saying, well, I think even his promises, you guys got to be a little patient, so just wait. But then looks as if majority of you have been quite impatient and you do not want to wait. So every time the president has been speaking to you, you've been murmuring or essentially making noise about how life is difficult for you. So the Treasury CS got a chance the other day to speak to the group at Bomas of Kenya and told them the cost of living is not a thing that you guys want to talk about right now. Because even as Kenyans are talking about how high the cost of living is, fuel might jump to 300 shillings on the back of the Israel-Hamas war. Guess what happened the other day? Tanzania cut down on the cost of fuel in that country. But then the same message is not being talked about here. At this time, I want my director then to jump into our dailies this morning. And I'd like her to start with what we saw in the Standard this morning, where essentially the president said his hands are tied. But something peculiar happened where his members of parliament now came and told him, hey, it is really tough. You see what he's saying? It is the gloomy state of the nation. It is essentially on the cost of living that is fueled by the cost of fuel in this country, because we do know that the country, Kenya, is a fuel economy, essentially. So let's cross over to the Daily Nation. Something important happened there, that is members of parliament that are allied to the UDA party essentially spoke to the president and said, maybe now, Mr. President, for the sake of our constituents, please return some of the subsidies, because it is getting tougher and tougher for us to even address them because of how high the cost of living is. That's a headline that was run on the Daily Nation this morning. We're going to post it for you so you can also get to have a look at it. Now, let me take you back to the campaign period. And I do remember on that presidential debate, the president had an answer immediately when he was asked, what are you going to do about the cost of fuel in this country, which is indeed pushing the cost of living high? Do you remember what he said? He said, simple, cut back on the taxes. That takes half the price of that particular commodity. You're there. Then after that, will be done and dusted. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me show you what your president said then, immediately after he was asked about the cost of fuel just the other day. And that is the quote that we're going to show you on that screen. He said, my hands are tied. This time around, he's got an answer for you. My hands are tied. That's it. There's nothing that I can do. So that conversation on the cost of taxes, on the impact of taxes, on the cost of fuel is done and dusted. Guess then, who's coming to speak to you again? The president. Whew. Good. Come on. Let's begin.
Yes.
Now, in this, let me tell you exactly what he plans to talk about, because the majority whip in the National House last week essentially told us exactly what the president is going to speak about. He's going to speak about his scorecard, the achievements he's made since he was appointed, and the other plans that he has for the country as the year comes to a close. Yeah. If you were the president today, a lot of people have been making noise across the country. Your members of parliament are telling you, hey, things are hot. Maybe return the subsidies as it looks now. What would you choose your State of the Nation address to become of? What are you going to talk about?
I would talk about what everybody is talking about. I would give a solution. I would give hope. I would give my midterm goals and my long-term goals. When you talk about midterm goals, these are plans that ease people's pain as fast or as soon as possible, yes, as we work towards achieving the long-term goals. You know, I am worried not for the people, but for the government. If fuel is going to go up to 300 bob, I'm not worried for the people. The people will survive, by the way, but the government will not survive up there. Why? Do you know fuel consumption has gone down by 11%?
That's true.
KRA is losing revenue. Government is losing their revenue. Why? When we talk about overtaxation, people shy off from spending the little they have. Okay? Government is 100% sponsored by taxation.
So when we think about expanding the taxation bracket, it is about encouraging people to spend. You cannot continue milking the same cow that gives you 10 liters of milk in hope that now it's going to meet your 15 liters worth of problems. So you, instead of milking it to its full capacity of 10 liters, you force it to give you 15 liters, which is an impossibility. What happens is no brainer. You kill that cow, it will die. Yes. So what are our modus of operandas of taxation, or rather, what are our principles of taxation? You see, what we see happening currently, Simba, is that we are suffering because of our pattern of taxation. What is the principle of our taxation? Let me take you back to Kibaki. Kibaki had one principle of taxation: feed the cow before milking it. Okay? So what did Kibaki do? When he got into power, immediately he saw a niche with these motorbikes. He saw it as one of the biggest employers of the jobless young people. So what did he do? He took taxes away, what we call excise duty. So if a motorbike is costing 100,000, he takes away the duty. That is maybe 30 or 40% of the price of the motorbike.
Yes.
So these young people afforded to buy motorbikes in quantities. So what happened is fuel consumption went up. So you give people a tax cut on this end, you create a massive employment that requires fuel to run. So what happens? The fuel in the country, the consumption goes up.
Does it?
So in this case, I saw someone shared a picture, was it yesterday or the other day, of parking in Eldoret. It was on Monday at 11 a.m. The parkings were empty. Why? It's no brainer. When people cannot afford to fuel their cars, they opt to leave them at home and use public means. The private sector is one of the largest consumers of fuel. So where is this revenue going to?
Yes.
Kenyans are not using their cars. So the president had the answer when he was campaigning. He said, one of the things we are going to do, because our problem, he said, we might not have a control of what happens geo-economically out there, but we can control what happens inside the country. Our problem is taxation. We can cut down on fuel taxes. He has not done that. So when these MPs goes to the president and tell him, you know, hey, Mr. President, things are thick down there. What do you expect when you're the same MPs that increased the 8% that was taken away by Uhuru? What did they expect? When they voted for that financial bill that increased 8% that was taken away by Uhuru, what miracle are they expecting? So we might not have a control of what will happen with the economics out there. As far as, you know, wars are happening in Gaza and in Ukraine, that we are saying these are the problems that are increasing the fuel levy. But in real sense, fuel prices are dropping across the world. That is why our sister country here, Tanzania, is able to reduce fuel. Look at their taxations. Look at their fuel levies. They are not as high as our countries. So what we need to do right now is cut down on taxes to allow Kenyans to spend. And that is why I'm saying I am not worried for the Kenyans out there, because they will stop using their vehicles. They will park them at home. So fuel, collection of revenue goes down. So the government will do what? Will start suffering. The other day I said, how do we create employment? You know, in Kenya, there is that money that is already in circulation. You cannot print money like what America did. One of the reasons we are suffering today is because America printed a lot of dollars. And you know, there is a saying that when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cough. So when America sneezed dollars out, now the rest of the world is paying for the inflation of the dollar. So how do we take the dollar down? Cut, allow investors to come. When an investor is in New York and is thinking of expansion, one of the things they look at before they invest is the taxation system of the country they intend to invest. Because an investor is always thinking about profit making, okay? So an investor will go into a conducive environment that encourages him to spend there, to invest there. If you look at our geographic positioning, if we get the taxation system right, I am telling you, Kenya can grow with a supersonic speed. If you look at the countries that depend on us to survive, not one, not two countries. So if we get our taxation systems right, every investor will opt to come here. And so if an investor today is discouraged to invest in Kenya, what do? They will opt to invest in Tanzania or even in Uganda. Yes. What we need to think right now is the expansion of taxation bracket by taking taxes down. I have said that for more than 2 years now in a row, consistent with that message, so that this investor can come and employ people. These people will pay as you employ these people. There will be a lot of consumption of fuel when in terms of manufacturing, processing, because these are the kind of investment people do. So we are looking at people being employed in huge numbers, so housing need will go up, consumption of fuel will go up, and so we need to start even thinking about VAT and pay as our biggest earner by reducing taxes. Let's spread the taxation bracket by cutting down taxes. That is why, again, I say I am worried for the government, not for the people.
Not for the people.
Yes.
But come on, just before I cross over to silence, just allow me to do this. Since we're talking about this in respect of the State of the Nation address that is going to have today, how is he gonna pass that? If you are the president, you're ready to have a Finance Act 2023 that is already in full operation.
They can recall it, by the way.
In fact, at this point that we're talking about this, it's good for me to remind our audiences that there's an 18% VAT proposal, by the way, that is going to come into effect in January 2024. So even this fuel prices that we're talking about here getting to 300, should they get to 300 in January 2024 again, when you're starting a new year, they're going to shoot up again.
It goes to 450.
How is he gonna communicate that? Come out in the State of the Nation address. Now that the plans have been passed and they're rolling down the line, how is he going to communicate that in the State of the Nation? Because that's what people want to hear. I want to point you out to a clip when he was in Mombasa the other day when he was trying to address residents. The only thing they kept on shouting in mafuta, mafuta.
Yes, because fuel is the engine and the wheels that run this economy.
Is he going to communicate that though? Come out. He's already done it. It's not like he's gonna come today and say, well, ladies and gentlemen, our fuel prices is not going back to 150.
By the way, I am a big supporter of President William Ruto, and I hope that he completes his 10 years term to see what he can do for this country. But at this rate, I am worried for him. Why? He had the right message when he was campaigning. He knew what to do. But now that he's the president, I don't know what is happening. He knew that we needed to look at our taxation system. He knew we needed to look to cut down on our taxes. And so today, he needs to tell people, promises. When you're campaigning, you're dealing with promises. Today, he cannot promise us a thing. Because why? The numbers of the economics will expose his leadership. You had promised us this, but our pockets, the economy is saying otherwise. And so Kenyans are eagerly waiting to hear for the solutions, not talks, not rhetorics, by the way. They want to hear, what are you going to do about the cost of living? Now, you see, the MPs have realized the fire down there is too much now. It's consuming in a bigger magnitude. And they are also feeling the heat. And they're asking the president, what do we do about the cost of living? Again, fuel is the engine and the wheels on which our economy runs on. So, Mr. President, if you're going to address Kenyans today, recall the finance bill. Please relook at the taxation system of our country. Cut down on taxes. By the way,
the only good thing that's going to come from the State of the Nation address is to say that we're going to be look into specific areas because we realize the cost of living is shooting off the roof. Is that what's going to piece Kenyans today? Come out.
That's what they need to hear, because that is the reality.
That's it.
Let me finish by saying, in today's day and age, you actually don't need to overthink on
Yes.
solutions.
Yes.
We have data. Data should give you the answers you're looking for. Mr. President knows where people are spending their money, and he knows where people are not spending their money.
Yes.
He needs to look at the data, the economic data of our countries, and make informed choices regarding, according to how he has seen
Yes.
the data is working. If Kenyans are not consuming fuel as they used to consume, what is happening? It is because the prices of fuel have gone up.
Yes.
So do something about it. Why are our investors running to our neighboring country here? Why is our stock market going down? It's gone down by 42%. Man, you know, even us with some shares, we are worried. Where are we headed as a country? And you know, let me tell you, there is a difference between supporting the government blindly and telling them truth. If I want to help the president, when I come on such a platform, let me speak the truth.
Pretty much.
Instead of being a sycophant of a government. So that he can have 10 years in office and see what he can do for this country.
That's it, silence. Let's do that State of the Nation address as well. I gave Kamau all this time around because we want to do the proper State of the Nation address. Now, it's your turn then, and I want you to hear exactly what some legislators exactly had to say about the planned State of the Nation address. This is it. This is what Wandani said. I want to read. That's last week. There's a note from last week when the president announced that he was going to do the State of the Nation address. Is that there's not much to expect from the speech in terms of dealing with the runaway cost of living. It's been proven right because the president came in and said, well, my hands are tied on this issue of the cost of fuel. Now, continues to say that indeed, if we are going to, the occasion has simply been turned into a ritual. It will just come and pass. They went on to say that, well, the president has essentially crisscrossed the country and has replaced top security officials in areas where majority of Kenyans will be looking at for him to say scorecard. And in between that, we've had time and again Al-Shabaab attacks that have befallen the country as well. Just barely 2 years into his administration as well. So here's the thing. It is under his administration as well that we realized of the Shakahola massacre. I don't know whether he's going to essentially talk about that in the name of religion. Again, fingers were pointed at religion in the country as well. What we did see, majority of religious leaders in the country say, well, we do not want to have a body that looks into religious activities in this country. That bill, I don't know where it is currently. Silas, that Kenyans want to hear something. Now, let me put you on the spot. That every time President Dr. William RUTO has been saying about what they have done and what they want to do, Kenyans don't want to hear that. They just want to hear the most important aspect on the cost of living. But that's why the president is saying, hey, my hands are tied on that. So what is he going to say in the State of the Nation address that's going to appease Kenyans? Silas, if it were you today to compose that speech for the president, what are the areas that you're going to tactically touch on that are going to make Kenyans happy today?
Now, Simba, in this,
yes,
I would go by my colleague, the political analyst,
yes,
with us today.
Yes.
He has eruditely given us the honest Kenya's view on what to expect from the president of the nation. And I believe that the State of Nation address in this country has already found a name from the Kenyans. From the president's past experience and previous behavior. You know how they call it?
Fellow Kenyans?
The lies edition. No, they call it the lies edition. Because what they expect is that they're going to be lied to. So they have named it the lies edition. So we are gearing towards listening to, maybe, is it the first or second edition of
the second edition of that,
of the lies. What has he lined for us from the leader majority? Talking about what he has done. Tell me what President William Ruto has done. If not relaunching projects from the previous administration. If not making life more and more unbearable for the Kenyans. If not issuing threats to compose himself to confirm that he is in charge. If not political mistreatment of his opponents. What has he done that is going to give us? I will tell you for a fact the president has done nothing for this country for the past years, months that he has been in office.
Yes.
But you asked, what do we expect from the president? I expect the president to address the cries of Mama Mbogas and watu wa boda boda.
Yeah.
Let him address that seriously.
Salas, is he going to do that? He's a president who's already told you his hands are tied on that.
I've told you that you've asked me what we expect.
That's it.
But what he's going to say, the leader of majority already gave us. And my interests are not even in his list.
Is he going to tactically do that? Because
by covering up with whatever he has done, which is non-existent.
State of the Nation, Silas, fine. State of the Nation address, it is want to hear, want to be happy, want to feel good that there's something that has already been done in this government, Silas. That even if something's not been done, I'm going to do this.
We are prepared. I have told you the nation is prepared for his speech. What the nation expects from his speech, we already know.
Yeah.
And we've even dubbed it the lies edition. We're expecting no more than that. Just being lied to.
I think that's an overboard.
Wait.
I
gave him time, right?
Yes. Address the nation, Silas.
I gave him time.
Address the nation.
Give me time.
Stop crucifying my president.
Address the nation. Yes?
You see, I want that voice that was coming from Coast, Beya mafuta bana, to be addressed. He now has the microphone. He has all the TV channels. Lookuptv will not miss to capture the state of nation.
By the way, we shall be live. Yeah. So watch.
They will not miss. And so the guy was saying, Beya mafuta bana, is expecting an answer. Will he give that answer? No. He'll tell you, tumetenga.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Fellow Kenyans, tumetenga. Fellow Kenyans, tumetenga. After every puff, fellow Kenyans, tumetenga.
Yes.
Until he has been nicknamed the government of tumetenga.
Yes.
To the extent, El Nino, you hear people say, tumetenga mvua trilioni. You see, that is our country. That is the truth. That's the reality of our country.
Is it okay for him? But just want to read for you the notes on exactly what he's supposed to touch. He's supposed to touch on his administration's obligation to the national values and principles of governance.
Exactly.
At a time he's waiting off claims of rampant graft among state officers and public officers. He also has to address on the issues that have been also alluded to regarding Gachagua, saying, well, this government is a shares government. You do expect that is going to come out clearly from him today. Is it okay? But Silas, now, knowing very well that he's got no solution. I mean, he's already told us that on the cost of living, we've got no solution on it. My hands are tied on it. Is it okay for him to say, to prioritize other issues other than the cost of living? How would you rate that particular speech? Because now, it looks as if he doesn't want to lie then, like you're saying, he's got to touch on issues that are believable to majority of Kenyans.
Of course. Now, not even believable. Simba, you are really taking it quite realistic. Issues that appear to be believable.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least to hoodwink us.
Yeah.
But look, before I give my opinion on the things we expect him to say,
yes,
I want to rivet my colleague's passion on the solutions he's trying to give the government that he supports so much. I also support the government. I'm a patriotic citizen. You see, the way world countries are organized.
Yes.
When you talk about world powers, we are looking at military muscle.
Yes.
And we're looking at economic muscle. Mm-hmm. So when you look at global top economies, you see Simba, they do not rely 100% on taxing wananchi. They rely on doing business. You hear them on TV, our trading partners. Our trading partners. Other than exporting outside, what is Kenya trading? Is there a Kenyan business in the US? Kenyan government business. I'm not talking about Kenyan citizens' business. Kenyan government business. Our country at one point was called, the entire bloc, British East African Company. And that is how you raise money. That is how you create jobs. We want to see an act of parliament that its institutions are actually sources of income for the citizens. Yes. That we have created this institution, we are targeting these millions of Kenyans to work there. And then, by that, the government will be earning money through its own means of trade, and then reducing taxes and reducing the pangs and pains on the citizens. Look at Eldoret now is empty. He's saying that I haven't seen it, but I want to believe it's my good friend. Eldoret is now empty. Parking lots are empty. Go to Nairobi, you won't find as many as they were in the previous administration. They're not there. Private citizens are not even having interest in buying cars. Very soon we'll be closing down the car yards because minimal visits.
We will not get there.
You see, I'm saying very soon we're going to do that if this is the trend. Now, Simba, coming back what we expect, what you have listed is what I want to hear from my president.
Yes.
But is he going to address it? Majority leaders told us is a table of content. It's not there. It's not there.
Come on. The concerns are true. And I want to give you a proper context, really. Yeah, I wonder how different it's going to be, because we've already seen the template of the feelings of Kenyans. Yeah. We've seen the template. The animation that we saw during his campaigns, you know, it spoke like a man with conviction, hope. Yeah. And it was said that for the very first time, indeed, in this election, that you would say strategy in campaigns was on the promises, the manifesto. Yeah. They spoke to the needs of the people who frequent these polling stations. Cost of living, employment, you know, making sure that the farmers are incentivized in this country. It's almost 2 years in office, and he's going to do the second State of the Nation address, where things are spiraling out of control. Even his members of parliament are telling him,
ground
Nikunoma, bro.
They have listened to the ground.
They have listened to the ground. As the speechwriter today, you know, who wants the president to look good, you know, to give hope to Kenyans. Yeah. What are you going to focus on? Because you can't focus on the cost of living, because you've already said, hey, Apple, my hands are tied. So what are you going to focus on so that Kenyans can look at it? Let me just give you a perspective as well. I mean, even when it comes to the state of security in the country, it's not like they've had it easy. No. Up to now, we're talking about banditry attacks in Baringo region. We're talking about Al-Shabaab attacks in the country. When it comes to managing even his own government officials, top ministers in his cabinet, there's infighting. Regarding Gachagua feeling disgruntled and talking about how this government is supposed to be a shared government and how he doesn't like how people are taking positions in his government. What are you going to focus on that is going to resonate with majority of Kenyans? Because here's the thing, I told you, he's not going to stop and say, well, the cost of fuel has come back to 150 today, because that's what majority of Kenyans would like to hear. What does he have?
First, I will start by saying there will never be a popular government. Never. There will never be a popular government. There will always be noises from people. That's given. One day, let me give you a story that is in the Bible. One day, the people we call the children of Israel, the Bible says, and God remembered a promise he had made to their father Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All this time they were in exile for more than 430 years. And so God came up with a plan to deliver them and take them to Canaan, the promised land. Now there was a process between Egypt and the promised land. In this process, there was so much noise. Some people even said, take us back to Egypt. There were pumpkins there, there were watermelons, and there were even better graves. Take us to be buried back
in Egypt.
And that process is the process that saw an entire generation that was beyond 40 years perish in the wilderness because of their murmuring, because of their complaining. And so the guys who got into Egypt
our guys below 40 years, it is good to complain. Okay.
Come on.
It is good. It is good to complain. But the kind of so they agree with that.
I don't have to agree, silence.
It is not really.
I don't have to agree.
Let me tell you, we have different people in a country with different needs.
Come on, this
there
one
are people. Let me finish. Let me finish. I am coming to the common need.
This one looks synonymous.
We have a common need. Everyone is crying about economy. If you go to the people, there is a massacre that is happening down here at the coast.
Yes.
There is a certain tribes that is being massacred because the president has promised to issue some title deeds. And there is a tribe there that is seen as outcast. So they are being slaughtered to be scared away. Now, those are people who are thinking about how can the president address this. That is one of their major concerns about the president's address to them. Come to people like me. I am in the business sector. I am in the car importation business. I am directly affected by the increment of taxation. Cars I used to pay 350 something thousand for taxes. Now I am paying close to 500 and something. I would want to hear the president give me a solution moving forward. Simba, we are in a position that now we are all being, united with one common factor: the cost of living. The cost of electricity has skyrocketed since the president came into power. The price of power has gone up. The price of everything has gone up.
Yes.
I am telling you, when the president was campaigning, he had the plan. Maybe we are just about to get the promised land. And by the way, you don't call a child a dwarf in their first year when they have room for growth. Okay? If this child has 4 more years,
what if he realized?
Now this is the good thing. Now this is the good thing.
What if he realized?
William Ruto and his entire government.
Come on, what if you realize that your neighbor's kids who were born at the same time are kind of getting weight and height more than your kids?
More than your
Now who are we comparing ourselves with? If it's Tanzania here, they have had a stable government for now close to 4 years. I mean close to like 4 years. If you come to here, this is our first year in William Ruto's presidency. I'm not saying that he has done so well. I want to say also there have been those moments of picky ponky with the economy, before they stabilize. And that is why I'm saying William Ruto by now has the right data to make informed decisions moving forward. He has tried, his economic advisors have tried the picky ponky way of doing things.
There's a quote behind you in the studio.
Yes.
You're going to ignore
I am coming to that, by the way. I am coming to that. I am coming to my hands are tied. So the president needs to address the cost of living. We need to ask him, he needs to tell us, there's a promise you made about taking taxes down for fuel. You said that was the elephant in the room. What have you done about it? In fact, you have done the opposite of what you had said. Taxes have gone up. And that is where the shoe is really pinching Kenyans. Because if we cannot afford to live, by the way, do you know how many Kenyans are sleeping hungry today? So many Kenyans. Do you know how many Kenyans are having 1 meal a day? So many Kenyans. And that is why in the beginning of this conversation, I asked you, what is our principle of taxation? What is the one thing we can say we do right as far as taxation is concerned? Where do we feed the cow before milking the cow? Those are some of the things I expect to hear from William Ruto. I like the fact that he thought about increasing production in the agricultural sector, which again has not been really felt because the price of unga has not come down. And 1 year in office, we have had at least 2 harvests of maize. But why is the price of unga not coming down, even with subsidized fertilizer? That's a question he needs to answer, Kenyans. He also needs to tell us, why is power up there? Why is the dollar continuing to gain against the Kenyan shilling? Why is it the government-to-government fuel thing seems to fail? These are some of the things we need to ask. And I will ask him as a patriotic Kenyan who is supporting him. Why are we not feeling the presence of your promises? Yes.
That's it. So when you look at the specific promises of Dr. President William Ruto, they're essentially PhD. PhD.
Yes.
They're essentially on the basis of making life easier for the majority of Kenyans. And I'm going to come to you, Silas, as we get close to the end of this conversation this morning. Now, here's the thing. The cost of production is essentially a critical component to the cost of living in the country. When the cost of production is low, you're essentially saying, majority of these people were going to produce. That means that even the incentive for investors coming to this country is way high. They're going to make money out of whatever it is that they're producing. But when you look at the cost of electricity, always going up. By the way, remember, just before Uhuru Kenyatta stepped out of office, he was talking about a reduction of 30% on the cost of electricity in the country. William Ruto came in
just
office.
Before he left office. He spoke that. Yet he had 10 years.
Actually, they had reduced it. The first 15% had essentially been reduced. They were working on the next 15%, which they said in the new year that was going to be effected. That was negated. It was negated, and then the cost of electricity added. Cost of fuel, again, on the roof. Now, here you are, where the factors of production, the critical ones, which is essentially energy, is on the roof in this country. And that's why majority of people are saying, we're not feeling it. You're not feeling it. We're complaining that you can't give us any other promise if the cost of production in this country is untenable. So what is it going to tell them today? Come out. Even as you say, well, it's only 2 years in our office.
I mean, actually 1 year. You know, I have said that because he was in an era of theoretically trying the things that he may have promised or not promised. And that's what I am calling picky ponky policies. You know, we say it is not the ship that surrounds the water that sinks the ship. It is the water that comes into the ship. We do not have control over what is happening out there as far as geopolitics and economics are concerned. But the policies that we are making as a nation can contribute whether we are going to sink or not going to sink. Simba, let me say,
come on, and I'm sorry to cut you short. You know, even as you respond to this question, the context of this question is that today we have no way to ask the president these questions. No, we have no way. We've already asked him these questions. So you would want to hear the questions that we've been asking reflected in his speech. But then he's telling you, come out. My hands are tied on the cost of production in this country.
Exactly.
What is he going to say?
That is why I told you, the policies that this government is making, I am worried, not for the people, but for the government. It is actually sinking. The government is sinking, by the way. This is my biggest concern. As a government, what is William Ruto doing to increase production in this country? That is why investors are running away. That means there is no production that is happening. What are we exporting? What is employment? Where do they come from? By the way, there is no government that is in the business of creating employment. The business of every government is to create a conducive environment for people to, you know, establish their dreams and plans so that they can succeed, thrive, and employ people. Now, that has not been happening in this country because everything seems to be on a nosedive in this country. We are losing revenue, investors are running away, shares are dropping like, you know, like an aeroplane that has lost control from the sky. And so William Ruto needs to discuss this thing, and he needs to tell us what he is doing. There are people that needs to be fired by there are people who are sleeping on the job.
Come on, are you afraid then to say that today, just before I cross over to Silas, today, the president is not going to speak to the common mananchi again? Are you afraid? Because if he's going to come in and announce policy changes on taxation, policy changes on reducing the elements, the cost of production, cost of living, then he won't be speaking again to the common mananchi who is not interested in the shares of Safaricom, in the shares of KPLC, who's not interested. By the way, one of the issues he's going to talk about today again is borrowing, and I want to be very critical, by the way, because pound on pound, he is the highest borrowing president this country has ever witnessed again. That if the common mananchi is not interested in taxes or, you know, the mechatronics of taxes, how taxes essentially affect you and I, how borrowing and debt affects you and I, They just want to hear that the cost of living has been lessened. So touch on electricity, touch on fuel. If he's not going to touch on that because his hands are tied, are you again afraid that this speech today, the national address, is going to be what Kenyans used to call in the former government, fellow Kenyans speech? Is that what it's going to be? Again today, just before 1 minute.
First, I am worried that in William Ruto's first year of presidency, that Kenyans are beginning to think of who can be William Ruto's replacement. That is a concern for me. Because they are feeling the heat. And so if the president is not going to address those things, you know, the days we are living in are days you don't have to speak anything. You don't even have to think so hard. We are living in an intelligent world where you can gather the intelligence, the concerns, and the feelings of Kenyans and be brought to your desk as early as in the morning. These are the concerns of Kenyans. And so I would beg that the president speaks directly to the hearts of Kenyans, not on rhetoric parts, not on rhetorics, but on actual plans. And by the way, Mr. President, don't speak about a plan. Say, this is what I have decided. There is a difference between a plan and a decision. I wish that the president will make a decision today moving forward that will automatically ease the living standards and the living cost and the lifestyle cost for Kenyans. So that people can start feeling the warmth of his government. Because as up to now, it is not there.
Silas, I want you to put a nail on this conversation this morning. So here's a question that I've got for you. If indeed, Silas, today is not the day that we're going to hear that the 16% VAT on fuel has been cut back to 8%, and the levies have been also slashed by half to bring the cost of fuel maybe to 150 or 120. If today is not the day that we're going to hear that electricity has been slashed to a certain percentage, are you afraid again that this is just going to be a ritual, just like Wandanyi is calling it?
Simba, our constitution provides solutions to heads of government or leaders who have no solutions like William Ruto. And the solution is simply park. Kamau here has a solution. His hand is not tied. You've heard him explain to Kenyans what the government should do. But behind you, a whole president is telling you his hands are tied on cost of living. Kamau has solutions. You have heard his solutions.
Can I respond to that?
Very good solutions. But the president has no solution. You should pack and go.
Are you going to come back from like number?
There's always a comeback, Simba. There's always a comeback. Give me the right of reply and I will come back.
Give me Silas, I want you to complete
a right of reply and I will come back from
come out because you say these are the solutions that we should go. But the president is telling you,
but the president says he has no solution. But look Simba.
That's 10 mil.
Can we close the show, Simba?
Yo, come on, take over that job, Walla. Kenyans need it.
Kenyans need him, man. The president should pass.
Okay.
Whenever our president speaks, he speaks to two audiences. The first audience is you and I, Simba, the Kenyans. The second audience are the international partners. But he seems to be more leaned on the international partners. You hear he wants to talk about borrowing before addressing the issue of the cost of living. I think borrowing should be pegged on his solutions on how to raise the living standards. Telling us how he's going to cut borrowing and raise our living standards. But if he has a solution on borrowing, but he has no solution on the cost of living, I'm telling you, constitutionally, you should pack and leave Kenyans like Kamau who have solutions to lead us. Me, I can vote for Kamau if he has this very beautiful solutions You see? You see? And the president we voted for has no solutions. So I would want to urge the president to look into the eye of Kenyans. The British High Commission didn't vote in Kenya. The American Embassy did not vote. The Indian Embassy did not vote. The people who voted for Kenya are us. And we are the ones who need solutions. Do not give them solutions on issues that they have told you behind the curtains that they want done in our country while you starve us to death. No, this is a serious issue. You should address us first, then address the guests later. That is my solution.
Simba, let me say this as a wind-up.
Yes.
Do you know what made Kibaki a great president?
Yes.
Because he knew what to do at the initial stages of his presidency. That is why even in his first term, he gave us free education. Not first term, in his first 3 months, he gave us free education. He had cut down on taxes where necessary. You see, I would trust more an incoming president more than an ongoing president. You see, for Uhuru, he knew what to do in his last days in office. He knew we needed tax cuts on electricity. He knew we needed fuel subsidy on his last days in office. He knew all that, but he did not give that. He knew that Mount Kenya needed one man, one vote, 1 shilling.
Yes.
He knew that in his last days in presidency. If he had given us that in his first days in presidency, then Kenya would be a different country today. So William Ruto has 4 more years to do what he needs to do while the day is still young for him, because the noise might escalate to some levels that he might not be able to control them. So Mr. William, Mr. President, my president, I plead and I beseech you, all the things you said while you were campaigning, they were right. Please do them.
As a sovereign, I speak to the president. Sovereignty belongs to the people.
Yes.
Constitution, Article 1.
Yes.
As a sovereign, I'm not pleading. The president needs to do what Kamau has highlighted. The president needs to speak on the issue. He should untie his hands.
Yes.
And let him put straight to Kenyans during his speech. Otherwise, the crowds will be hostile. Everywhere he goes, he'll be told, Beya mafuta bana, not only at coast. Even in Santo, there's a time he will begin to go even to Eldoret, Rift Valley. They'll begin to ask him, Beya mafuta bana, if he does not address that issue right now.
Yes.
And you see, Simba, we might think that we're looking at a long-term solution by making life unbearable for us right now. You see, the long-term solution becomes possible if you do not take away what I have now, but help me with what I have right now to sacrifice what I have for that long-term solution. What I mean is that a bird in hand
is worth.
A bird in hand. If I have my business right now, please bolster my business. Don't shut it down. If you shut it down, you want me to grow in the next 20 years or next 19 years, how am I gonna grow, Simba? The business, you've taken it down. You're not giving me a solution.
Yes.
Right now, our children cannot go to school. They can't go to school. Kibaki's government gave us free education. Simba, you went to schools. Maybe for you, you are lucky your parents took you to private. For a few of us, we went to public university. We were being given books. Teachers were being paid. There was no school fee for us. Maybe a few head teachers would ask us for 40 bob for exams. And that is how we schooled. Right now, the school fee has skyrocketed. Can you believe, Simba, I paid 102,000 for a law degree at the University of Nairobi as a government-sponsored student.
By the way, it's now 600,000.
Now it is 600,000.
It is.
How is my grandma going to raise for my other siblings who also want to follow my footsteps? And look at the primary, high school. Meaning, you are sending children of fishermen to go and fish. You are sending children of wana boda boda waende kwa boda boda. Because my father will wake up in the morning and say, Onyango, chukua hiyo boda boda tafuta chakula ya leo. Daddy nataka kwenda shule, sina school fee, nifanye nini? So there is going to be a cut on the educated and schooled in this country. And if you want to destroy a nation, destroy its education roots. You'll have uncouth, uncivilized, uneducated, and reasoning society. Is that what William wants? Because he has ametubeba wajinga for long, actually. When he comes out live and tells us mambo matatu, and then he still comes and patents that. Surely.
2 minutes as we clear this conversation.
Yes.
That particular plea from the members of parliament right there, come on, for the president then to go in and essentially cut down on the taxes on the cost of fuel in this country. Does it expose the president as well in the sense of like they knew where they could alleviate the suffering of Kenyans from, but then they let it pass by majority in the National House. It's now that they're playing with the president, oh, maybe you need to cut down on that because for ground, vitu zimeenda mbaya.
You see, the president did what he thought was best for this country. And so he mobilized and put his house in order to vote for that bill. And so the MPs voted for the bill, okay? That was what the president wanted and thought was the best for this country. But now these MPs have realized whatever the president wanted for the country is not necessarily good for the people down there. And that is why they are telling him, Mr. President, you can even recall this financial bill because it can be recalled. It's a law now, the financial bill. It's a financial law now. It can be recalled. We can have a relook at it. Okay? I would say, Mr. President, listen to the people. Listen to the people. The plan you have for the people, because I know you have a plan. I know you have a plan to do things differently. 2 or 1 year to your presidency's first term, please do it now. Implement that now. Don't wait, because the noise of the people might get to levels you might not control them. Remember, you're still a young president. You have a re-election to look at, and you can change things, and you can be the highly voted president in 2027 as long as people are happy. Please listen to the people. Yes. Give them solutions. Give them a way forward. That's why they elected you, Mr. President.
Guess what? Those two events that are essentially going to be landmark today in the country will be live in both. That is the president's national address, and also today the ruling of Kawira Mwangaza, whether she's going to essentially stay in her office or vacate that particular office in Meru County. Guess what, gentlemen? Thank you very much. Hopefully the president was listening. If his hands are tied, come on, he's right here, but now. And Kenyans, if you're listening, there's a solution here. And come on, he's right here, but he's right here.
No, he's going to surprise people with his speech. He will surprise people. He's a man of many surprises.
Guess what? Maybe a big surprise probably in the offing. As we wait for that, isn't it? All right. Join us online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. The hashtag continues. The morning drift. Tomorrow is a good day to do this all over again. Goodbye.